Caleb, I'd also like you to answer this question as well. Do you think that businesses should sacrifice their profits for environmental impacts?
Of course. I feel that a company should look at the bigger picture, which is society as a whole. And as Qianqian stated, not think of it as a sacrifice, but as an investment. For example, our Eco-Imagination project, which we launched in 2005, is basically a commitment to imagine and build innovative solutions that benefit customers and society at large. During the 2010 fiscal year, GE generated about $18 billion in revenue from the Eco-Imagination products we developed, and has surpassed $85 billion in sales since the program began in 2005, making Eco-Imagination one of the most successful commercial initiatives in the history of our company. So I feel that it might not be a sacrifice. You can actually gain profit from using money towards protecting the environment.
Okay, so just to reiterate, you're saying that you can or you have personally actually made money from spending money on protecting the environment?
Yes, ma'am, our company has.
All right, thank you. Qianqian, I'd like to ask you the next question. What are some of the laws that the government has made to protect the environment?
Nowadays, there are more than 30 items of laws government has made for protecting the environment in the United States. The laws are involved in a very wide area. For example, they have Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and Toxic Substance Control Act, and many other acts, which are laws in order to address the public health and welfare risks posed by certain widespread air, water, and toxic pollutants. However, most laws now are not have enough details to be put into the practice right away. So our EPA is also called the regulatory agency that the Congress authorizes us to write regulations that explain the technical, operational, and more legal details to add and to implement the laws. And regulations are mandatory requirements to apply to companies, communities, organizations, states, even local government, and others.
All right, thank you, Qianqian. The next question is going to be directed at Gabriel and Caleb. How do you feel about the government implementing laws for businesses to protect the environment? I'd like to start with Caleb on this one.
I feel that governments are meant to regulate the economy and our country as a whole. They are doing something to protect us and our world as well. Although some might be a little drastic, laws such as the Clean Air Act, according to the EPA, will help prevent over 230,000 deaths, or early deaths in 2020. These laws are there to protect our nation and help our businesses develop as well.
Okay, thank you. Gabriel, will you also answer the question of how you feel about the government implementing laws for businesses to protect the environment?
Sure. I have a very different opinion. I believe it's unconstitutional to do so, that for governments to impose their laws on smaller companies or even larger companies. The government has every right to regulate companies that are not responsible. However, it has no right to go and tell them how to operate their business and which resources to use based on environmental effects. I can understand these actions if a company is caught dumping raw waste in a river with close proximity to a city or town. But to tell certain companies that they need to replace their cash register or refrigerators with green appliances is not right. And many companies don't have the money to purchase such goods.
All right, thank you.
Kendyll, may I add something on his response?
Yes, Qianqian, go ahead.
I do agree that government need to do something for protecting our environment. But if companies use some strong power to force companies go green, they may cause some bad side effects. From my own experience in China, the Chinese government has a strong power, and as a controller now on the environmental protection. So many companies, they actually do not want to lose their profits, but they have to do something to follow the rules, to follow the laws, and give feedback to government. So they're just doing something on the top, on the face for feedback, but actually in the underground, they did something even much worse for our environment.
Interesting comment. Gabriel, do you have a response to what Qianqian is saying?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and I think she made some good points about the Chinese government. It just goes to show that these are issues that aren't affecting just our nation. It's worldwide. It's a hot topic, and it's definitely controversial, as you can see by Caleb and I's differing opinions. But I believe that she's correct. You know, the government should not have any right to implement, you know, regulations that are drastic, that end up being drastic and end up being detrimental to certain companies.
All right, thank you. So we have some very different opinions here and also some agreements. The next question is going to be towards Qianqian. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages to being an environmentally friendly business?
First, I want to talk about the disadvantages. The disadvantages of going green is obviously the companies may lose profits. They need to spend more money, more time, or more energy to improve their system or change their products. But however, the advantages of going green is obviously too. Companies may save money and save energy in the long term. For example, if a company changed their system into the solar energy, they may lose some money, energy at short term, but in long term, they will reduce the most of the cost of energy cost in many years. In addition, the solar energy is a green technology. It's good for our environment. On the other hand, a responsible company needs to not only to make profits, they need to be responsible for consumers, to our society, or even to our earth. So therefore, going green may help consumers and society give a better evaluations and impressions to companies. Just like our administrator, Lisa Jackson, said, we can preserve our climate, protect our health, and even stronger our economy at the same time.
Thank you,
And
Qianqian.
I would just like to add on to that, Kendall, if that's okay.
Yes, of course, Adam.
I just agreeing with Qianqian that companies can gain advantages, and they can gain profits if they become an environmental business. We specifically at General Electric have invested in leadership in energy and environmental design for buildings, or LED for short, as I talked about earlier. These ratings are implemented by the U.S. Green Building Council, and which means that we have built our buildings on strategies aimed at achieving high performance in key areas of human and health issues. We invested personally about 2% on these structures, and on average results in life cycle savings of about 20% of the total construction cost, more than 10 times the initial investment. Although it might be a little pricey at first, you can save money in the future, and it can benefit your company as well.
Thank you, Caleb. Gabriel, would you like to add on to any of what they're saying? Their question again was, what are the advantages and disadvantages to being an environmentally friendly business?
Sure. Personally, my company's made green efforts, but honestly, I don't think that our industry can afford to go green. Like I said earlier, I believe that some companies can afford to do so, but it might take a loss of profit to do so. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Gabriel. That concludes my questions for the panel. I would like to thank the panelists again for their time and thoughts. I also want to thank the audience for coming and listening to the opinions of their panelists, and I hope that you have received something out of this.